And you tweeted that involuntary hospitalization is a tactic, not a plan. So explain that to me.
I think that's correct. And you got most of that right, yes. So we have long known that some people may need to be removed involuntarily. That's not something new. We also know that we can't just leave people who need care on the street. But what it seems to be happening is we're confusing a tactic with a plan. And if you know more about removing someone involuntarily, like you know the specifics of that, you know that police will be doing that, and you know much less about the care and the continuum of care that they're going to receive once that evaluation happens, that's a problem. And that's where we have some of the red flags, and that's where we're trying to ask a lot of questions. We put out our own just a few weeks ago outlining the difficulties that we've been having. And so we have some concerns about some of the things we've been hearing.
All right. I want to hear about those concerns. I also want to get your sense of the kind of investments, Jumaane, and changes that the city would have to make in order for a plan to work, right? I mean, this seems more like it is a systems and structure conversation as much as it is about this specific policy.
It very much is. And many of us have been asking for these investments for such a long time because we know this issue. And it's only gotten worse since the pandemic, except we haven't got additional investments. So we're further back than we were even before. Even as we speak, there are more cuts coming. And so you can hold somebody maybe for 2 or 3 days, but then you have to let the person go with or without a continuum of care plan. And so we've always said that, the tactics that are being mentioned, there have always been tools, but the parts of the plan that we fully agree with, the mentioning of the drop-in centers, the mobile crisis teams, which should be deployed, there is no information about how much funding will be there. How many beds are we going to have? When are the mobile crisis teams are going to go out? Are they going to have the funding that they needed? We actually literally don't have the amount of beds right now to do what I think is being proposed. And so if we can just look at this as an entire plan, then we can better understand it. But what makes people nervous is that it just seems to be, we're going to be now using this tactic, calling it a plan, and we're going to be asking police officers, who we ask to do way too much, we're going to put them in a situation to have to decide whether or not someone should be removed involuntarily. And by the way, we're also expanding the definition of who can be removed.
Well, tell me about that expansion of the definition.
So it is a common belief that you can remove someone if they're a danger to themselves or to someone else. That is now being expanded to a definition of if they're unable to care for themselves, which, without getting full information, it's hard to know what that means. And so right now my office is asking a whole bunch of questions so we can better understand what is being planned, because what it sounds like is something that is not going to get to the result that we want, because these type of tactics have been tried before. And I'll tell you, everybody wants to be safe on that train. Everybody wants to feel safe, including my family when they take it. We want people to get the care that they need. We don't want to do something that's going to exacerbate and make it worse. Imagine if you are involuntarily removed, put into a hospital, and then let out 2 days, 3 days later, probably a little bit more upset and without the continuum of care that you need.
Without the continuum of care. Last month, you released a report revealing the number of mental health crisis centers that have declined by half since 2019. What role does that play in all of this?
I mean, it's tremendous. It's like, pretend that we didn't have what we needed for our physical health if you broke your arm in the middle of the night, or you had a virus in the middle of the night and you had no place to go. We have half of the respite centers that we had during the pandemic. The state was supposed to put, I believe it was upwards of 1,000, 1,500 new beds. I think we have about 200. We simply don't have the infrastructure. There are some things that have gotten a little better, but so much has gotten worse. And what we should be doing is focusing on getting the funding and infrastructure that we need, so that if someone needs to be hospitalized, they actually have a bed there for them, and we can get them the care that they need once they're released. We don't have that. And what I'm concerned about is, are we going to say simply because you're homeless, that may mean that you cannot take care of yourself? Now what happens? And so the choices can't just continue to be, if you don't get the access to care that you need, that you're on the street, you're in Rikers, and perhaps now in an emergency room hallway for 2 or 3 days. And so I support the mayor in saying we have to do something. I'm happy that he's bringing it up. I'm really hoping we can get some of these questions answered so that we can really put together a full plan and put the picture out there a little bit better than it has been right now.